Hey, my friend, can I ask you something, really honestly? Have you ever had one of those moments where it feels like you're watching a movie of your own life, but you're just a ghost in the room, unable to stop the disaster that's unfolding on screen? I've been there. I remember the feeling so vividly. It starts with a subtle tremor, a tiny vibration deep in your gut that you try to ignore. You tell yourself it's nothing, but then that tremor grows. The solid ground you spent years, maybe decades, carefully building that career, that relationship, that identity, it starts to show these little hairline cracks. And you watch, frozen, as those cracks spiderweb out, getting wider and deeper until the whole foundation just gives way. It's a feeling of absolute freefall, isn't it? The air gets sucked out of your lungs. The job that was more than a job, the one that was your title, your purpose, it just dissolves into thin air, like a phantom you only imagined. The person you thought was your forever, your anchor in the chaos of the world, suddenly becomes the storm itself, and your little boat is capsized, leaving you gasping for air in a cold, dark sea. All the maps you drew for your future, all those dreams you charted like stars in the night sky, they just vanish. You're left staring into a blank, silent, terrifying void. And in that hollow silence, this awful, gut-wrenching whisper starts to creep in from the corners of your mind. What did I do wrong? What is so fundamentally broken in me that everything I build just turns to dust? I know that question. I've lived with it. It's a lonely, heavy thing to carry. But here's what I've come to learn, and I want to share this with you. What if I told you that this terrifying demolition isn't a punishment? What if it's actually a sacred act of grace? What if the universe isn't trying to tear you down, but is lovingly, painstakingly clearing the overgrown, tangled land of your life to build a palace you couldn't even have dreamed of? If any of this is striking a chord deep inside you, if you feel that little spark of recognition, just take a second and breathe into it. Honor that feeling. If you feel me, give this a like and maybe subscribe, because we're going to be talking about a lot more of these truths. And please, if you've ever been through this sacred unraveling, share a little of your story in the comments. You have no idea how much your experience could be a lighthouse for someone else who's lost in this exact same storm. You'll see, my friend, you are not going crazy, and you are far, far from alone. Now, I need you to really hear me on this. This isn't just some fluffy, feel-good quote you'd see on a coffee mug. Honestly, if you'd told me this a decade ago, when I was in the thick of my own breakdown, I probably would have rolled my eyes. I was too busy drowning in my own despair to see the lifeboat. But this is a sacred truth, a fundamental law of how our souls evolve. Most people go their whole lives fighting this current, completely unaware that it's trying to carry them home. What I want to awaken you to today is the reality of a divine intelligence, a cosmic wisdom that is always, always at work in your life. It's a force that operates on a frequency far beyond what our logical, worried minds can comprehend. You can call it God, Source. The universe, the name doesn't matter. What matters is knowing it's there. This is the gentle but firm hand of the divine, the pure energy of creation, guiding your journey with a wisdom that is both unimaginably vast and deeply personal to you. This higher intelligence, your own higher self connected to Source, knows with absolute certainty which parts of your life have become too small for your soul. It sees the prisons you've unintentionally built for yourself, prisons made of fear, of other people's expectations, of beliefs you inherited but never questioned. It sees the relationships that have clipped your wings and the career paths that have silenced your spirit's song. It understands, with a love you can't even fathom, that before your true masterpiece can be built, the old, compromised foundation has to be completely cleared away. You can't build a temple on cracked concrete. The more you fight this, my friend, the more you clench your fists and try to hold onto the crumbling walls, the more pain you create for yourself. The journey becomes a grueling battle instead of a graceful dance. So please, hear this in your heart. You are not being punished for your past. You are being prepared for your future. You are not falling apart. You are, in fact, falling into perfect alignment. Let's just step back for a second and think about something incredible. Let's talk about a caterpillar. At a very specific, divinely orchestrated moment in its life, it doesn't just decide, well, I think I'll grow some wings today. It's so much more radical than that. From the outside, the process looks, well, it looks brutal. The entire structure of who the caterpillar is, its very form and essence, has to literally dissolve. It seals itself away in the quiet darkness of a chrysalis, and inside that sacred space, its body completely breaks down. It melts into a kind of cellular goo, chaotic, unformed, soupy potential. Now, if you didn't know what was happening, what would you think? You'd think it was death. You'd see it as a complete and utter failure, a tragic end for this little crawling creature. It looks like total disintegration. But you and I know better, don't we? We know that something absolutely miraculous is unfolding in that darkness. That very breakdown, that chaotic soup of what was, is actually the fertile ground, the sacred void from which something entirely new is being born. That dissolution is creating the essential space and providing the raw materials for a magnificent butterfly to emerge. A creature with the gift of flight, with the freedom to soar into a world the caterpillar couldn't even have comprehended. And your life, right now, in this very moment of chaos. It's working in precisely the same way. The experiences that feel like a total collapse, the moments where you feel like you're dissolving into nothing, these are often the moments your soul is lovingly breaking down old limitations to make space for your wings. But because we can't see the divine blueprint while we're inside the chrysalis, we mistake this sacred demolition for a personal failure. We have to learn to reframe it. This isn't a sign of your weakness, it is a holy preparation for your rebirth. For so many years of my life, I was a builder, and I bet you are too. We dedicate all our energy to constructing things. We build a career, we build a family, we build an identity, and we build this idea of a safe, secure future. We are like careful masons, stacking these bricks one on top of the other, believing we are creating this solid, impenetrable fortress that will protect us from the uncertainties of the world. And for a while, it works. It feels good, right? It feels safe. It gives us a sense of progress, like we're moving forward, on a straight, predictable path. But then, as it always does, life throws a curveball, a loss that knocks the wind out of you, a betrayal that shatters your trust, a failure that makes you question your own worth, an unexpected change that pulls the rug out from under you, and suddenly, that whole fortress you built begins to shake. The mortar starts to crumble, the walls start to lean. Your first, most primal instinct is to panic. It's to run around frantically, grabbing at the falling bricks, trying to shove them back into place. Your mind, your ego, it screams at you. Hold on, fix this, don't let it fall. It wants to rewind time, to get back to that feeling of familiar comfort before the unraveling began. I remember that feeling. It's exhausting. But I came to a point where I had to ask myself a life-changing question, and I want to ask you the same thing. What if the unraveling isn't the problem? What if the real source of our suffering isn't the change itself, but our desperate, white-knuckled attempt to cling to a reality that our soul has already outgrown? This is where you have to learn to see the difference between destruction and dissolution. Destruction is brutal, it's random, chaotic, and it leaves you feeling like a victim. But dissolution is a sacred art. It is a graceful, intelligent, and purposeful process. It is the universe lovingly breaking down what no longer serves your highest evolution, clearing the path for the magnificent truth of who you are meant to be. Your life, my friend, has this incredible, innate wisdom built right into its DNA. Your higher self, your soul, knows with perfect, unwavering clarity when something has served its purpose and is ready to be released. I remember this job I had. On paper, it was perfect. Secure, good money, respected. But every morning, I'd wake up with this heavy, hollow feeling in my chest, like my soul was slowly suffocating. When I eventually got laid off, I was devastated. It felt like a catastrophic failure, but now, I see it was a divine intervention. That life had to dissolve so I could finally find work that makes my spirit sing. Or how about that relationship that looks like a fairy tale to everyone else, but behind closed doors, it feels lonely and restrictive? Maybe its ending isn't a tragedy, but a sacred opening, a chance for you to finally learn what a true, soul-level partnership feels, like a connection that mirrors back your own infinite worth. And all those plans we make, the ones we cling to so tightly, the ones that seem so important but never feel quite right in our bones, perhaps they need to crumble. Maybe they are meant to fall apart so we can be lovingly redirected to a path that truly resonates with the person we are powerfully becoming, not just the person we thought we were supposed to be. But here's the tough part, and it truly is a trial of faith. You almost never see this grand design while you're in the middle of it. When you're suspended in that dark, soupy, in-between space of dissolution, all you can feel is the loss. All you can see is the failure. It just feels like everything is going horribly wrong. And that's because your conscious mind, your ego, is still trying to navigate with an old, outdated map. It's trying to measure your current reality against a blueprint for a life you have already outgrown. It's judging your worth based on old metrics, what you used to want, who you used to think mattered, who you used to be. But what if that old version of you is exactly what needs to dissolve right now? What if the part of you that built that life, made those choices, and created those patterns has now completed its sacred assignment? It taught you what you needed to know, and now it's time for something truer to be born from those ashes. Hold on to this truth like a lifeline. This falling apart is not happening to you. It is happening for you. This right here, this moment of surrender, is the great crossroads where most people get stuck. They can spend years, even lifetimes, pouring all their precious energy into trying to go back. They live in a state of mourning for a past that's already gone, and in a state of terror about a future they can't control. They completely miss the breathtaking miracle that is trying to unfold right here, in the now. They're so fixated on rebuilding the old, familiar house that they can't see the blueprints for the magnificent new temple waiting for them. They treat change like it's a monster under the bed, a terrifying invader, instead of recognizing it for what it truly is, their most powerful ally, their most intimate and divine guide. Because let me tell you, my friend, change is never, ever random. It isn't chaotic. It is never meaningless. There is a sacred rhythm to it, a divine timing that our limited minds can't always perceive. There is an intelligence behind it that is so much more sophisticated, so much more loving than our ego could ever orchestrate. And when you finally learn to trust this process, when you unclench your fists and stop fighting it, something profound shifts deep within your being. You stop feeling like a victim tossed about by the waves of circumstance, and you rise up as a conscious co-creator of your own transformation. Just think about it for a second. Think back to the last time something big in your life fell apart. At the time, I bet it was agonizing. It probably felt like the world was ending. But look back now, from where you're sitting today, with all the wisdom you've gained. Can you see it? Can you see how that painful ending ultimately led you to something better? Can you see how it opened doors you didn't even know existed? Can you see how it introduced you to a strength within yourself you never knew you had? That's not a coincidence. That is the intelligence of sacred dissolution at work. That is your life, lovingly reorganizing itself in ways your logical mind could never have planned. What you were so certain was falling apart was, all along, just falling into place. Now, seeing that pattern in hindsight is one thing. It's comforting, sure, but learning to trust it while it's actually happening. That, my friend, is the secret to mastering your own evolution. When you're in the thick of it, when the ground is shaking and you have no idea which way is up, it takes a special kind of faith. This isn't a blind, hope for the best kind of faith. It's an intelligent faith, a deep, embodied trust that comes from understanding how this sacred transformation really works. To get there, you first have to forgive yourself for being scared. Your discomfort with uncertainty isn't a personal failing or a character flaw. It's pure biology. Our brains are literally wired for survival, like an ancient security system. They are designed to spot patterns, predict outcomes, and control the environment. So, when uncertainty shows up, that ancient alarm system starts blaring, screaming, danger, even when your soul is perfectly safe. Your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a real tiger in the bushes and the threat of losing your job. It just knows something feels threatening, and it floods you with adrenaline and cortisol, getting you ready to fight or flee. But here's the absolute miracle of it all. The very same raw, primal energy that creates that heart-pounding panic can be consciously transmuted into the energy of creation and possibility. The same wide-open space of not knowing that feels so terrifying can become the sacred womb where miracles are conceived. The problem isn't the uncertainty itself. The problem is our relationship to it. The moment you stop trying to control the outcome and instead start getting genuinely curious about what is trying to emerge, everything changes. Instead of wailing, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin to ask with a quiet, powerful curiosity, "What is this preparing me for? What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of demanding immediate, black and white answers, you learn to breathe and be patient in the sacred space of the question itself. Instead of trying to force a solution, you create a welcoming space for divinely inspired solutions to find their way to you. And let's be clear, this isn't about becoming a passive bystander in your own life. It's about understanding the huge difference between effort and struggle. Effort is aligned action. It moves you forward. Struggle is resistance. It keeps you stuck in the mud. Effort works in beautiful harmony with the natural timing of the universe. Struggle is a constant, exhausting fight against the current. Effort feels purposeful and right in your bones, even when it's hard work. Struggle feels forced and heavy, even when you're not doing much at all. I want you to picture a powerful river flowing to the sea. When it comes across big rocks, it doesn't declare war on them. It doesn't waste its energy trying to smash through them. It simply adapts. It finds a new path. It flows over, around, and through. And you know what? Over time, that relentless, gentle flow of the water will wear even the hardest rock perfectly smooth. Your life force wants to flow just like that river, but every time we hit an obstacle, we tense up. We brace for impact. We start pushing and forcing and struggling. We turn what could be a simple, graceful redirection into a soul-crushing battle. What would change if you decided to learn to flow like that water? What if you could begin to trust that every obstacle is just a form of divine guidance, showing you a better way? What if you could see every closed door not as a rejection, but as a loving protection, saving you from a path that wasn't truly for you, and every open door as a sacred invitation to step into what is? This requires a whole new way of defining success. True, soul-level success isn't about hitting external targets. It's about how gracefully you can navigate the inevitable currents of change. It's not about living a problem-free life. It's about how quickly and wisely you can learn from the challenges you face. It's not about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to live in the beauty of the questions. And when you start to measure your life by this deeper, more authentic metric, the whole idea of falling apart loses its power over you. It stops feeling like failure, and it starts to feel like evolution. Because every time an old part of your life dissolves, you are handed a golden opportunity to rebuild from a place of deeper truth and wisdom. So, trust the process, trust the timing, trust that you are not breaking down. My friend, you are breaking open. And waiting for you on the other side of this dissolution is a version of yourself so much stronger, wiser, and more magnificent than you ever could have imagined. This is just the beginning of that journey. Learning to see these moments for what they are is the first, crucial step. But learning how to consciously work with this energy, to actively co-create with the universe during these times of transformation, well, that's where the real magic happens. If you'd like to hear more about that, let me know, and maybe we can talk about it next time.